Mr. Kelly?
Thank you, Chairman. Just so we can be clear on this, and I sometimes get confused. I've only been here for a year and a half. But I think that the confusion comes, are we in Washington, D.C., or are we in Mount Olympus? Because the decisions made by government, really, we talk about they bailed out the auto industry. I'm going to tell you what bailed out the auto industry. Being a guy who's sold cars his whole life and a family that's been in it over 60 years, it is the market that saved the auto industry. And we are not talking, by the way, gentlemen, about union jobs and non-union jobs, Republican jobs and Democrat jobs. We're talking about American jobs. There is such a fragility to this market, and I really get confused sometimes when people who have never actually done it can tell you exactly what caused this. I mean, wow, I can tell you what caused it. Overcapacity, overproduction. When you're structured to do 16.5 million units a year and it goes down to 9 million units a year, my goodness, do you think you have a problem when you've lost over 40% of your market? The answer is yes. The government interfered with a natural flow of the business cycle. They picked winners and losers. There is absolutely no doubt that they picked winners and losers. This idea that we have an evolving truth, that as time goes forward, we can talk about what is fair and what is equal. That we can pick and choose winners and losers and then sit back and say, but if we hadn't done it, you don't understand, the market would have collapsed. The market did collapse. It collapsed because people didn't know what their future looked like. A guy who doesn't know if he's going to have a job next year does not go into a 48-month commitment or a 60-month commitment to buy a new car. How do I know this? I stand on the lot with them, I sit in the showrooms with them, and I see their pain. But whenever you determine that one group will be bailed out and another will not, that is just flat outright wrong. Let's not become confused. This is pure folly that it had not been for this measure, all the manufacturers would have collapsed. Are you kidding me? Do you know that there were auto manufacturers that actually gained market share during that time period? The market, not government, determines success and failure. What happened to this situation is that the government decided who wins, who loses, who gets fully funded, who gets nothing, who gets to sit at the table and eat, and who gets to sit outside. Let there be no confusion over the definition between fair and equal. In the country that I grew up in, it's the same thing. And I get sick and tired when people use a legal argument to do an end run on what's right for the American people. That's absolutely pathetic. And if that's what we've reverted to, no wonder the American people don't have faith in this institution anymore. No wonder they don't have any faith in a judicial system anymore that picks and chooses winners and losers. Oh yeah, you can fight it if you have enough money. I got to tell you, and you know it, and I know it, and everybody else knows it in this country. I am not against the unions. Listen, I love the unions. I love what they do. But why did you bring them to the table? And there's an old saying right now that I really believe in. If you're not at the table, you're on the menu. This government picked and chose who the winners and the losers were. The recovery of the American automobile industry has nothing to do with this. There would still have been companies. These companies would have gone through a bankruptcy, would have come back. We didn't save millions of jobs. A bankruptcy with historical, what a recovery period. Biggest bankruptcy in American history. Bam, 30, 60 days, we're back on the street and running again, and no problems. So when we talk about what's clear and what's transparent, when we talk about what's fair, we talk about the 99% and the 1%, fairness to me is pretty much hand-picked. Well, I'll be fair with certain people, but I won't be fair with others. Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the hearing today, and I know there's some confusion about it from having been there and having to navigate through those very difficult times. Keep in mind one thing. It is the market that will always be the opportunity. How you address that market, your ability to compete in a market that's global, your ability to build cars of the highest quality has never been contested. You know what the problem was? It costs too much to build them here. American people go out, and the people I talk to, you know what they look at? How much is it going to cost me a month? So that's what it comes down to. And I'm going to yield back, but I got to tell you, having been there and having been in those waters, without a life jacket, without anybody throwing me a line, it's offensive to me that somebody was picked to win and the other people were picked to lose.
The gentleman yield.
I do.
Just one, and I have tremendous respect for you, and I know you know that. And I just want to make sure I understand. Are you saying that that this situation could have gone into bankruptcy, and we would have still had the results that we have? Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, reclaiming my time.
Yeah, please. I
go through
said this
bankruptcy.
most respectfully.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Mr. Cummings, because you and I do have a good relationship. It did go through bankruptcy, and it came back. The question is, who was made whole, who was made partial, who was left out in the cold? And I want to tell you, I mean, gentlemen, I appreciate you being here today. It took a year. It took a year to come. It took a year to answer these things from SIGTARP? Really? I have a passion for this, too. In fact, my friends say to me all the time, Kelly, you don't make any sense to me. You left what was probably the next to the last on the list of what people respect me in the automobile business, and you went to the worst. We rely on you. You are the people who we rely on for the answers. And when you don't testify, what does that look like? Tell me. Not in legal jargon, but in common sense, everyday American jargon. What does that look like to the people who pay for all this? The American taxpayers. It's pathetic. The fact that you can do it and that you take advantage of it is even more pathetic. I yield back my time.